Tonight, we start by taking a look at the selection of this year's new orientation counselor staff, as well as the Rocky Horror Festival. Then we'll inform you about the ongoing Beat Bama food drive.
We'll also take a look nationally by providing updates on the ongoing Israel-Hamas war and the continuous inflation issue the nation faces. Finally, you'll learn about an initiative to keep turtles safer, your Auburn Fun Fact of the Week, and more. All of that and more is coming up next on Eagle Eye's Thursday News at 6.
Good evening and welcome to Eagle Eye News at 6. I'm Allison Foran.
And I'm Wheeler Garrett.
A new round of orientation leaders on Monday night, better known as Camp War Eagle and SOS counselors, were announced at callouts. This is a cherished Auburn tradition where students join a new organization, gather outside of the Cater steps to hear their name announced as a new member. Students gathered outside of Cater Hall, anxiously waiting to see if they would be selected as orientation leaders. Surrounded by friends and family, applicants' names and hometown were called as they were selected to orient incoming freshmen this summer. After hearing their names, students ran up the steps of Cater and joined last year's counselors to celebrate and mingle with the new crew.
October was LGBTQ History Month, and the celebration was lively here on campus as UPC Pride on the Plains hosted this annual tradition. Rocky Horror Festival is a celebration of Halloween, Pride, and everyone who is looking to have a festive movie night. Eagle Eye TV's Allison Foran reports.
It's Halloween on the Plains, and Auburn students are out in full force donning their favorite costumes to celebrate the holiday with Auburn's UPC and Pride on the Plains organizations.
Students were invited to join the organization's picnic style on the green space in front of the stadium for a showing of the cult classic Rocky Horror Picture Show. Many attendees decided to wear their Halloween costumes or dress as characters from the movie.
So this is the Rocky Horror Picture Show put on by UPC, Pride on the Plains, and Auburn OID. So this is one of the most historical queer films. It's got great themes about community and acceptance, and just all together having a good time. There's audience interaction. We've got prop bags for everyone. So we're going to be throwing things out, shouting things out, and just having a all-together good time for Halloween.
Those in attendance were able to enjoy catering and sweet treats provided by the university. With audience interaction being a focal point of the film, prop bags were handed out to encourage participation. It was a scary good time celebrating the Auburn queer community and one of our favorite holidays.
For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Allison Foran.
The BBFD, or Beat Bama Food Drive organization, has been hard at work this year putting together fundraising events for all the students to join in. Their mission seems to be supporting their cause and gathering donations while providing active and entertaining events for students to partake in. This past Sunday, they held their third annual pickleball tournament. All students were welcome to enter the tournament and competed against one another in a bracket. The tournament took place at the outdoor tennis and pickleball courts located near the Village Residential Overflow parking lot at 2 in the afternoon. BBFD is currently taking donations at any of their labeled cans around campus. For more information on the organization and how to donate, you can visit their website at foodbankofeastalabama.com.
Dia de los Muertos is not just a Mexican tradition. It has become a global phenomenon celebrated by people of diverse cultures who embrace it as its message of celebrating life, honoring the dead, and embracing the inevitability of mortality. The Auburn University Program Council partnered with the Latinx Student Alliance for the second year in a row to host the Dia de los Muertos events. The second-year celebration of Dia de los Muertos saw students from diverse backgrounds learning about and participating in a hallmark of Mexican culture. Students played Mexican games, ate baked goods called conchas, and even placed pictures of their loved ones at an ofrenda. It was a powerful reminder that in the face of loss, there is beauty in cherishing the lives of those who have passed away. Through this unique and colorful tradition, Auburn University's Program Council and Latinx Student Alliance continued to affirm the enduring connection between the living and the deceased. When we come back, we'll inform you of the escalation in the Israel-Hamas war, the dangers of inflation, and more. You're watching Eagle Eye TV, Auburn's news leader.
Israel is pushing ahead in its war against Hamas. This week, Israel Defense Forces bombed a densely populated refugee camp, setting off condemnation from the United Nations. In the meantime, as thousands of Gazans struggle to find shelter and basic necessities, some foreign nationals trapped in the area are slowly being let out, including the U.S. citizens. Gloria Pazmino has more in this report.
A hammer is their only tool. Then it's their bare hands as Gazans sift through piles of mangled metal, concrete, and dust in search of bodies. This is the second hit on the Jabalia refugee camp this week. The Israeli military says it was targeting a Hamas command and control complex and killed several Hamas members, and blames Hamas for intentionally endangering civilians by building its infrastructure in populated areas. The director of Gaza's Indonesian hospital says the strike killed scores of people and injured hundreds more. The scale of destruction is widespread and pressure is growing on Israel to call for a ceasefire as the civilian death toll from the war escalates. In the meantime, a glimmer of hope as injured Palestinians and hundreds of foreign nationals, including U.S. citizens, have started arriving on the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing Wednesday. Back in the U.S., political pressure is mounting. President Biden was confronted by a rabbi during a private fundraiser in Minneapolis.
Mr. President, if you care about Jewish people as a rabbi, I need you to call for a ceasefire right now.
Biden responded by saying he was supportive of a humanitarian pause to allow for the release of the more than 200 hostages held by Hamas in Gaza. Muslim leaders representing a key voting bloc in Minneapolis say the president failed to meet their deadline to call a ceasefire this week.
No ceasefire, no vote in 2024.
Reporting in New York, Gloria Pazmino.
As disturbing and worrying episodes of anti-Semitic and anti-Muslim hate take place in America, the FBI director issued a stark warning, telling the nation that the war in the Middle East could inspire extremists in the U.S. to carry out more attacks against Americans. It's all happening against a backdrop of Jewish students fearful on college campuses, with vandalism and violent rhetoric raising alarms from law enforcement. Mike Valerio has the latest.
A string of alarming hate incidents and a climate of fear emerging in America. A Virginia survivor of the Holocaust stunned.
When we said never again, it means never again, and we see it happening again.
Anti-Semitic threats, vandalism, and outbursts across the U.S. are now being reported. The FBI director and Secretary of Homeland Security both described new threats to the homeland since the latest war between Hamas and Israel began.
In the days and weeks since, we have responded to an increase in threats against Jewish, Muslim, and Arab American communities and institutions across our country.
The nation's largest Muslim civil rights group, CARE, reports a threefold increase in complaints about anti-Muslim violence. FBI Director Chris Wray warned the tense environment could lead to attacks at home.
Here in the United States, our most immediate concern is that violent extremists, individuals or small groups, will draw inspiration from the events in the Middle East to carry out attacks against Americans going about their daily lives.
At Cornell University, one person is in custody after online posts encouraged people to kill Jews and attack a dining hall for Jewish students.
For my family last night, we had a discussion whether it's safe for me to be on campus or whether I should come back home.
New York's governor after meeting with students.
Some are fearful now of attending class or eating in the kosher dining hall. And I promised them that the state of New York would do everything in its power to protect them.
Concerns nationwide that vitriol may morph into unspeakable violence. I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
All eyes were on the U.S. Federal Reserve yesterday as the central bank was expected to hold interest rates steady amid a growing economy despite continued high inflation. But high interest rates and high prices are putting consumers in a bind, even as wages slowly rise. Mike Valerio joins us to break down the Fed's decision and what this means for you and your wallet.
Well, earlier this afternoon, we heard from the Fed Chair, Jay Powell, and he said something that is certainly off the table at the moment, and that would be cuts in interest rates.
The economy is booming. The highest interest rates in more than 20 years yet to dampen the jobs market, home prices, or consumer spending. However, the increased cost of borrowing will likely take a toll in the months ahead.
Expect the Federal Reserve to maintain a vigilant posture, even if they're not raising rates, just in an effort to keep conditions tight and push inflation closer to that 2% mark. There's also some concern about the health of a lot of consumers.
Consumers are wary. Confidence in the economy is down for the third month in a row, even as spending and wages are up.
Inflation has hit hardest in categories that are absolute necessities. Household expenses are considerably higher than they were just a few years ago, and the income may not have kept up.
And for many, that means more borrowing.
I think if you paint with a broad brush, it ignores the reality that about 60% of households are living paycheck to paycheck. We've seen credit card balances going up at a time when credit card rates are at a record high.
While the economy has remained stronger for longer than economists anticipated, Bankrate.com's Greg McBride says a downturn could still come in 2024, and people should be prepared if and when recession hits.
Pay down debt, particularly high-cost debt like credit cards, boost your emergency savings. That's going to be a buffer between you and high-cost debt if you have an income disruption.
So to bring this full circle, why is this all happening? Well, this is all, according to the Fed, to bring down demand, to cool off the economy, and that cools inflation. That is the Federal Reserve's main mission. In Los Angeles, I'm Mike Valerio. Back to you.
When we come back, we'll give you a Thanksgiving expense outlook, your Auburn Fun Fact of the Week, and more. You're watching Eagle Eye TV, Auburn's news leader.
A new project underway in South Carolina. To keep both wildlife and humans safe, Folly Beach is installing turtle-friendly street lighting. Katie Solt explains what that means.
It's about lighting the way, replacing artificial with a different view along Folly's Beach.
Today we're witnessing the culmination of safety for people and wildlife.
Along East Ashley and Arctic Avenues, a crew working for Dominion Energy is putting up special lighting.
Dominion Energy has begun installation on 37 turtle-friendly streetlights.
The project is in partnership with the city. So what makes the new lights turtle-friendly?
Are amber in color. They operate on a different wavelength.
Working with natural lighting to keep hatching turtles on the right track.
Artificial lighting has the potential to disorient and confuse the turtle hatchlings.
That lighting can send turtles away from the ocean, endangering one of the low country's favorite species.
So when the little ones hatch, they'll see the moon over the ocean as bright white, which is what they're looking for by nature, and not the street light to head toward the road, so they'll head out to the water.
The new amber lights not only protect the ocean dwellers, but Folly folks too.
It also gives us light on the street and pathways for people to keep the people safe.
This lighting project is really an innovative and really long-term solution that's simply replacing existing street lighting we already had in place with the municipality here on Folly Beach.
November is here, and for those who celebrate Thanksgiving, the countdown is on, and a new forecast is revealing how much your turkey dinner could cost you this year. So, which items will be more expensive and cheaper? In today's Consumer Watch, Cole Higgins has a look at why the star of the holiday meal is seeing a shift in price.
This year's Thanksgiving dinner is serving up some dramatic shifts when it comes to cost. Wholesale prices for turkey fell 29% in October compared to a year ago. That's according to Wells Fargo's new Thanksgiving report. The forecast is welcome news for turkey farmers and marks a major shift from last year when a wave of avian flu took out birds, leaving some farms struggling to keep up with demand, which led to higher store prices. This 2023, the Wells Fargo Agri-Food Institute says farms added 2% to 3% additional birds, and that robust supply plus a drop in the cost of refrigerated trucks to move supply from farm to store are contributing to the price drop. But get ready for some sticker shock because the rest of the meal will cost you more.
Everything else around it, all those side dishes, choose to spend wisely and shop wisely where you can.
According to the Wells Fargo forecast, canned cranberries cost almost 60% more compared to the same time last year. So opt for fresh cranberries instead, which cost about 20% 20% less compared to last year. And right now, production costs for canned pumpkin are 30% higher this year from last year. Russet potato prices are at an all-time high, with prices up 14% from a year ago. So consider going for sweet potatoes instead. Store prices are only up about 4%. To trim costs, experts recommend scaling back.
Do you really need all that stuff? Who is actually eating this? Do we have a dish that maybe only gets 2 or 3 bites? Scrap it.
For Consumer Watch, I'm Cole Higgins.
You might be familiar with the movie Mean Girls, but did you know that a historic Auburn figure had a burn book of her own? Catherine Cooper Cater was the Dean of Women and Dean of Student Life during her time at the university. When Cater Hall was built in 1915, it was her home and office and was later named after her. Catherine Cater was known for her journal that she wrote in every day, taking note of the goings-on of all the women who lived in the Women's Quadrangle during her time. It was said that the things in the book were so scandalous that it had to be burned to protect the women's reputations. However, Catherine did her part for the female students on campus by promoting their equal treatment and education and encouraging them to be active members of society and push themselves to achieve more than what was socially acceptable at the time.
We're out of time, but for more Auburn news, head over to our website, eagleeyeauburn.com, and check out our social media pages. I'm Allison Foran.
And I'm Wheeler Garrett. Thank you for watching, and War Eagle.